Shooters Connection offers products for competition shooters by competition shooters. With over 80 years of combined competition shooting experience, Shooters Connection is staffed by master and grandmaster shooters who live the shooting sports every day. We offer same-day shipping. Shooters Connection also sponsors over 100 of your matches every single year. So when it comes to finding everything you need to compete as a beginner or a seasoned grandmaster, Shooters Connection is the only name you need to know. Online at shootersconnectionstore.com.
Welcome back to the Hit Factor. We have myself, Jeremy Reid, Mr. Jeff Cawthon, as always, and Potato is back with us. And you guys really need to chill out with the Potato praise after the last time he was on, because it was just kind of gross. Everybody was just like talking about how great his beard was, and like his voice is just made for the movies, and how smart he is. And we don't need that. Potato doesn't need that. His ego's going to get too big.
I think we're going to put a mute on the podcast feedback channel for a while, because that's enough of that.
Yeah, and
in fairness to your many listeners, they said I sounded like John Malkovich. That's not a good thing. Nobody's like, man, I wish John Malkovich would read me a bedtime story, right? Like, being John Malkovich, like, that's what I want my life to be like.
I guess that's fair.
Con Air, right? Like, really? Like, that's a good thing?
I mean, some people probably think it is.
Some people probably really like it, all right?
Your dogs probably do. Which luckily we can see the black German Shepherd in the background this time. What's the black German Shepherd's name? Xander. I like that. And also we have joining with us, so we got an even smarter person, so with a better beard. Mr. AccuGlock himself, who shoots CZs, Tyler Turner of PSTG fame and just world-renowned Area 6 shooting guru.
Yeah, that's right. I'm here as an envoy, special envoy from Area 6.
Do you guys have an election or something going on?
Something like that. That's what they tell me.
Also, what you guys hear, the scratching throughout this recording is actually Tyler's beard. So you can hear the beards throughout this recording.
And I will get that shirt. I will get a shirt with Tyler Turner's face on it, and it'll just say, "Hear the beard."
Hear the beard.
We need to start making special merchandise for guests that come on, and just have
every time we have a terrible recording, we make a t-shirt out of it.
Yeah. Well, it can be a contest.
You're always looking for new hat designs, from what I understand. So
yeah,
I am happy to help you.
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate that. So Potato just recently shot the Buckeye Blast, and so we wanted to have Potato to talk about that, because that's the range that's hosting nationals, and the match is kind of cool because it does do staff reset. And so Potato, we wanted to hear a little bit what you thought about like the staff reset and then just the range as a whole.
So the range is Cardinal Shooting Facility in Marengo, Ohio. It's about 45 minutes north of Columbus. The nice thing about that, this is not shooting related, but it means there's ample places to stay. There's so many places to stay around Columbus. You could even push all the way out to Cleveland, and you'd be an hour away from the actual range. So there's a ton of places to stay, a ton of places to eat. If you've got family or people sort of traveling with, they're not going to be in frostproof. But so they ran a staff reset. They also ran a 2-day format for staff, just like Dragons Cup had done. So staff shot in 2 shifts: Thursday, Friday AM. Competitors shot Friday PM, Saturday AM, Saturday all day, or Saturday PM, Sunday AM. So their vision was to sort of get about 300 people through the match, with the vast majority of competitors and staff shooting on 2 days. So like at the level of like match design, that's smart. That's kind of nice.
Yeah, I like that level of matrixing.
And they built up a number of new bays, at least 8, that are quite a walk, which again we're all familiar with from ranges that expand. Is they put the new base far away from the old base. And the new bays are deep, not particularly wide, but deep, and they're earthen berms. And I mentioned they are earthen berms. You might think, well, aren't most ranges earthen berms? Well, no, the Cardinal shooting facility is wooden berms. I assume with earth behind them on their heritage bays, and then concrete berms off with another potential shooting zone.
Which the challenge with those is they're not really designed to take repetitive hits of bullets, right? Like they're bulletproof and they'll stop a bullet, but you can't put a target on a berm and just keep shooting into it. Like you'll just deteriorate that berm really quick.
Yeah, and so they do have bullet traps that let you shoot towards the sidewalls. So it's not a situation where it's like in all classifiers nationals. But it definitely affects stage design or at least stage builds. Probably doesn't affect design. Should affect design.
So these bullet traps, they're like are they built for each target specifically?
It looks like were recently built to allow for that, and I think they had some historically in the past. That club only started hosting USPSA in the last 2 years.
Okay. Oh wow! In the last 2 years, and they're hosting a nationals this year.
That's correct.
Wow!
Was this the first level 2 match hosted at that facility? I had heard that. Okay,
that is correct. And they have an on-site FFL and gun store that's going to be competition oriented.
So
and there's a massive trap and clays facility. I mean, just a couple square miles.
Sorry, I don't have much experience with ranges using bullet traps. Are these things like, can you set them behind any target, or does it have to be a target that like faces the ground?
So they have some that stand about 6 feet tall that allow you to use a conventional target presentation, and then some that look a little bit more ad hoc that sort of are better for targets lower to the ground.
Okay.
I'm trying to speak very carefully here because I don't actually know how they build their bullet traps, and I don't want to give the impression that they're somehow doing a bad job. That's not. I didn't hear dangerous ricochets or see the wooden walls come crumbling down, despite missing the number of targets laterally.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean there are options for bullet traps out there that are basically target stands. Like they're a little bit bigger than a normal target stand. You see these at indoor ranges, especially like if you like any like the matches that Eric Gaffel shows that he's shooting like indoors. Like you see him shooting all sorts of different directions indoors. Well, his bullets are basically stapled to bullet traps. They're not that big, they're not that thick, but they'll stop a bullet. And so there are options out there. You know, I don't know how windproof. Obviously, like you see those in indoor stages. So I don't know how windproof those are. Like if they're prone to being blown over, or if they can really handle the number of rounds that a nationals would get if you got 400 or 500 shooters going through there. I just don't know, but they're common in Europe in indoor matches a lot. So that's interesting.
The thing you actually asked about, which was staff reset. So it was a staff reset match, which means every bay had at least 4 staff on it. Area 5, where they were pulling their staff from, is really, really deep in experienced and high quality ROs, CROs. So it was people who knew what they were doing. And I have a lot of criticisms of match at the level of sort of stage design and flow, but not the staff. The staff there were phenomenal. It was one of the better staff matches I've been to. And it's not just because it was staff reset in the rain on day 2 for me, but that does help. And in a couple of different bays, people offered to help, and the staff were like, nope.
Wow.
We got to shoot in good weather. You guys can just stay under the awning.
Oh, nice. I still have yet to shoot a staff reset match.
The longest hour and a half of your life is being first shooter on a stage and last shooter on the next.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure.
It's like a match full of lunch breaks.
Which is...
It's a different mental test to like come back and be turned on when you're not up on your feet all the time.
Which, some people that are anti-staff reset will argue that, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with all that time? Might as well be resetting.
What were the squad sizes like?
Up to 13, which would have been too many.
Right.
Just for the kinds of stages. There was a stage that was a 2-string Virginia count stage, 24 rounds, where the average shooter was shooting 25-second strings. So the average shooter's shooting 50 seconds, and where there's a lot of mental specificity required. And so you're getting a lot of jam make-readies from everybody. Mm-hmm. We didn't back up on that at all because we shot it out of order. We actually, trying to get ahead of the rain, we shot extra stages on day one. But squads on the regular schedule all backed up there because a string Virginia count stage, if 12 rounds, that's a killer.
Yeah, that's you get 12, 13 guys on a squad, without anything to do in the meantime. That's a long wait. This comment's going to sound like, well, that ain't how we do it. That's not how it's intended. I'm just telling you my experience. Like the Southeast, like the state level matches in the Southeast have gone to like half day format, staff reset. If you've got a squad of like 7, 8, which is about right, you're turning and burning so fast. I mean, by the time you've shot loaded mags, you're on to the next base. So there's not as much downtime. But yeah, I could see how if you've got twice that number, and you, yeah, that's a long time between stages.
Yeah, the sort of 25-minute turn time that you would see at like a Carolina Classic or or even to a lesser extent an Area 6 match, which maybe it's 35-minute turn time there with staff reset. This was closer to 45 minutes.
So how did you feel as far as just like stage efficiency, like turning over shooters? Was it quicker or slower being staff reset, or
it's always quicker. I've shot a few staff reset matches. There's no comparison. If you have staff who are physically don't have mobility issues, they're going to have a routine for scoring and restoring targets that's so efficient. It's actually a really good argument for, and I know this will never catch on, but the idea that the last 2 or 3 shooters restore, because if sort of people don't have to walk 20 yards to stand there with a paster on their finger, like everybody's life's better.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no argument against staff reset that I can find, even with the hour and a half wait between first.
And how many staff did they have per stage?
Typically 4. On a really simple stage, you can run it with 3.
So you're kind of
complicated stage. You run it with 5, and that's if you've got staff who have a kid hanging out who like helps paste anyway, and I think we've all seen matches like that. You put that person on the big field course.
Yeah. So it doesn't sound like it's not that much more staffing. Maybe 25% more staffing as far as what's on the actual stage. And it sounds like it would probably give you opportunity if you were smart enough a way to do it, to actually run more shooters. So you could actually pay for more staff.
Tyler was saying that is the Southeast's current model.
Yeah, you got the guy on the timer, the guy on the pad. You've got a guy with a pacer gun. A 3-man crew can turn over a simple stage, even a large field course, as long as it's simple and relatively compact. If you get a huge bay, you'd probably want to push that to 4 or 5 staff. If you got steel, if you got movers, you'd need more. Just a dedicated steel man. But I mean,
even here on the longer stages, they did the smart thing, which is a golf cart for the 35 targets.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I love it from the standpoint of, I mean, tons of matches nowadays are filling up. Like they fill up like really quickly, right? And so how do we get more shooters in? And if there's just a way to just simply be more efficient and that way we can shoot more shooters, then let's do it. Let's
I don't
find
want to
a way
shoot
to
any
make that happen.
shooters, sir.
You don't want to shoot more shooters?
I do not want to shoot more shooters.
Oh, well, you just don't know how to live right. Come down to Texas.
And it sort of goes hand in hand too. Like the efficiency aspect is a good in itself, but also like from a competitive equity standpoint, you don't have other competitors going down range. You don't have pre-pasted targets. You have a rhythm where the ROs have worked at the same stage all weekend long. I love it more than anything for that competitive equity aspect.
Do you know anyone who's shot for more than a couple of years and hasn't lost a good stage to a pre-taped target?
I think it happens to everybody. I think you're right.
Exactly. And it doesn't happen at all because the only people touching a paster can also call a score. Staff reset.
Yeah. And the arguments I hear against staff reset, I don't think they're great arguments. I think it's mostly, well, I won't go there. I won't talk about the kind of people that have a problem with staff reset, but it's something about the sense of volunteerism in the sport. I think it's a testament to volunteerism. If you have enough staff in your area, if you have enough staff to run it that way, like, would you purposely not, like, out of some sense of quote unquote volunteerism, like you need competitors to walk down there, like you said, Potato, like with a pacer on their hand, then walk back because someone else got to it. Like, to me, it's a testament to volunteerism that we have enough, dedicated staff who are willing to do this. That's just me.
Well, and if you live in driving distance, you can sort of make that decision for yourself. Do I want to staff the area next door, or do I want to staff my, and have my area match be where I sort of express my competitive impulse, or do I want to show up somewhere else? But it's not like we have to tax the same sort of traveling RO core to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't understand any sort of argument against it other than lack of staff availability, which I get that, but you are 100% right at the same time. How many times have you shot a stage where an RO is literally going around and touching every target, but they 100% refuse to put a paster on that target? And it's like, well, like, I don't totally, as somebody who, does RO, has RO'd, much more locals, but like, I don't understand that concept that an RO, I refuse to tape a target. It's just more efficient.
I can't, and yes, I can't imagine being the guy, and maybe I am at some point, in which case you are welcome to shoot me. The guy who stands at the back of the bay after everybody has gone back up range, right, and just stands there and says, "This target isn't restored. Excuse me, we need a paster. We need a paster for this target." It's like, yeah, I could put a roll in my pocket if I'm that RO and I could paste that target. Like, it wasn't like malevolence or neglect.
Right.
Someone just didn't paste that target.
Right. And so, like, if you're already making the steps to go to every single target, why not bring a tape gun and save 20 people those steps? That makes sense to me. If there's people who don't like it, then I'd love to hear your argument against it. But yeah, that sounds cool. So yeah, that sounds good. I am pretty leery about a basically brand new club hosting nationals. I don't know what, like, if Yeeman was running nationals this year, and then now is Ted Murphy running nationals? Like, what are they, especially with, the one that's coming up in July, like, what are they doing for that? I don't even, who's the MD for that? I don't know. Maybe I don't know that they've discussed that anywhere. I don't know if I've seen that discussed, but I am a little bit leery of having nationals at a brand new club like that.
So, Potato, having just been there and shot the Buckeye Blast, should CONAT's competitors be worried?
There's a couple of things that if I was serious about going to CO Nationals that I would practice, and that would be stacked targets. Because if you have narrow bays and somebody doesn't design for a narrow bay, and they're like, oh, we got to get 28 rounds onto this bay. Well, these used to be 2 freestanding targets at different depths. Why don't we make them 1 target stand with 2 targets on it? And we'll make it harder because we'll partial the top one. And I would say half the stages at that match had that. And I'm sure the match book for CO Nats doesn't have that. But when people go to build it on the ground and they feel sort of the lateral constraints of narrow bays, there'll be a lot of stacked targets. I don't know what their prop situation is. Like a lot of clubs, it's a mix. It's not all one style of steel. And like, you know, like every match that uses full-size poppers, there were some calibration issues. The full-size forward fall poppers and big gusts of wind coming up on the north-facing bays.
No more plates either.
And we can't use plates. Plates are very, very
plates
hard.
are done.
I'm not sure how the rest of the world manages to use them successfully at every single match.
Yeah, that's yeah. I guess
we nuked the plate problem.
Yeah, we fixed it. We got that one fixed. The positive is that all the berms face to the north, right?
That is correct. You're not gonna. The sun is not an issue.
Okay, that's at least. I mean, that's at least a big positive, because that, like, frostproof, you could really get screwed.
I mean, even where they have Area 6, Rowan County, if you're down in those bottom right bays, if you're right when the sun crests the bay, if you're shooting tight group and you look towards the sun, like, you're not seeing another target for at least 7 or 8 seconds.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
Well, cool.
Plenty of parking, you know. Again, Columbus is like an easy place to visit. Really easy to get to. Pretty close to middle of the country for a lot of people.
It's a long freaking drive from Texas. And
you can get one of those Ohio is for Lovers t-shirts. You guys seen those?
Do they have those?
Somewhere, yeah.
I've heard about Virginia. This is news to me that Ohio is for lovers. See, I thought
I've seen the t-shirt.
Everything you think you know about Kentucky is true about Ohio. You take that for what it's worth.
Is this where Ironside Nationals is supposed to be?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You'll be there in this fall.
don't worry, Jeff doesn't pay attention to that, because he's just like, you're picking me up, Jeremy, right? And he's just going to get in the car and sleep, and we'll just show up somewhere. Like, oh, okay, this is cool.
Well rested.
I hope CO Nats goes really well, but if it doesn't, I hope it helps them like sort things out for Irons Nats.
That's
Yeah,
exactly what it'll do.
Right.
My home range is hosting an area match. This is our second year. We're going to do such a better job than we did last year.
Yeah.
So if you think about this range, if they have their state match 6 weeks later, they have their first nationals. By the time they get to the really complicated Ironsides nationals with a bunch of different divisions doing a bunch of different crazy stuff, people should have it pretty well figured out.
We can hope.
There's also those same big rifle bays that they refuse to use at CMP. It looks like they're refusing to use in Ohio. I mean, you can make an amazing stage with that 100-yard rifle bag.
That'd be so cool.
Berms.
Yeah. It does have side berms?
Yeah.
I don't know why you wouldn't use it. I don't understand why you wouldn't use that.
I mean, you don't have to use all of it.
All of it.
Oh, well, that would be nice too, but
yeah, I want a huge stage.
Shannon always did really cool stuff with the big bays down at Frostproof.
Yep.
He always used the space. That's sort of like his hallmark as a stage designer. He used the space magnificently.
That 270-degree berm all the way down to Frostproof. It's like, like what a canvas to have as a stage designer.
Yeah.
You can do some neat stuff there.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll reconsider that. All right. Tyler, Jeff, you have some sort of stage breakdown system. Am I articulating that correctly? Because Jeff's very interested in this.
I am very interested.
Yeah, I mean that's close. That's an element of it for sure. I think you're talking about the block I taught at training group at the summit. So what it really boils down to is it's kind of a mental system, a system for discipline more than anything. And part of it is like the stage breakdown and being very detailed, but like big picture, it's sort of like, let me start at the beginning. I get really frustrated by the way people talk about the mental game in the sport. Like, forgive me, but the Anderson-esque thing and like the positive thinking and, hope it, wish it, believe it, and manifest itself into existence. Like that stuff drives me crazy.
Jeremy hates all that shit.
I can't stand it. So like this is more of like a mechanistic system, like concrete steps, like an approach to take with you to be disciplined, where you're not taking you're not leaving anything, to mystic forces beyond your control. Like you're in control of every aspect of this. So I think the basis of driving discipline in your shooting is making good decisions. And watch me, I'm going to forget the thing. Making good decisions, applying the correct sequence of operations, and doing all this in the proper priority. So the way I kind of presented this at the summit is, say you've got a guy who knows he's got to go faster, like fairly accurate. He can hit all the stuff, but he's getting blown out on points. Or on the flip side, you got a guy who's raw time champ every time, but can't hit anything. He's shooting 75% of the points. And let's just take the turtle, for example. He knows he must go faster. And so he wakes up on Saturday morning, going to the local match. He's in the truck on the drive, and he's saying, I'm going to go fast for this match. Like I'm going to at least be within shouting distance of the low time on every stage. That's the outcome I want to achieve. And he goes to the match and doesn't accomplish it. You could pick, you guys, for example, have you ever, woken up for a local or major or whatever and said, this is my particular goal. This is what I want to have happen at the match. And it just, that one thing you've identified and you bomb it, just goes completely the opposite way.
Yeah, probably.
So I think, so my theory at least is, you can make a big decision, but a lot of times it's really just a hope or a wish. You've made a decision, but you haven't made the subsequent decisions and the smaller decisions, smaller, get more and more granular in your decision making. It's really the small decisions that make or break what's going to happen on the stage. So I think that's kind of like step one. It's making good decisions and making all decisions all the way down on what you're going to do. So for example, like if your goal is to shoot better points, you're the hoser. This is the easy example. It's not enough to just say, I want to shoot better points. I want to shoot 95% of points. It's, well, what do I have to do to accomplish that? Like, if I got to be visually disciplined, I've got to identify on every target, like the appropriate level of confirmation. I've got to not give myself permission visually to transition off this target until the second shot is broken.
Right.
And then after you've identified all the decisions and you've gone to a very granular level, then you have to build that back up in the proper sequence. So I think a lot of people get like out of order in what they're supposed to be doing, or they skip a step. And so it predictably leads to disaster, or at least errors, if not outright disaster. So I think breaking it all down to the elementary particles of shooting, and then you put that back together in the proper sequence, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then for wherever you are in the sequence, you know what your priority is at that given time. I think that's a good recipe for disciplined shooting. An example is
what would be like a sequence for you?
So distance change up, right? And it doesn't matter if it's an array resembling distance change up in a stage, or if it's just the drill distance change up. That was the example I used at Summit.
So just explain the drill, just in case there's listeners that don't know what the drill is.
Yeah, so it's 2 open targets, kind of on either side of you. I think the distance is 5 yards. The standard is 5 yards. And then you've got typically a head box right in front of you at 15 yards. And so the engagement is just draw to pick a side, run it left to right or right to left.
Okay.
Or the more fun way, which is start in the head box and come in.
You could do that.
You have to make one decision.
Yeah.
I wanna shoot one good shot at the head box, trust my grip, and then just accelerate. Sorry.
No, that's. Go ahead.
So, but basically, it's like a fast, slow, fast type of engagement.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Sorry, that makes for good pod coughing.
It does.
It does. But no, so like the decisions I would make on that, I got to decide, like, what do I need to see on that first open target? First, I got to decide, I got to get my gun out. So that's the first step. I want to be hyper aware of like how the grip feels when I assume like the perfect grip. I want the perfect grip off the draw. So I know exactly where my hand needs to land on the backstrap and under the beaver tail to get me a good start. That's kind of the foundation of everything. So I want to be hyper aware of the feeling in the gun in my hand as I'm snatching it out of the holster. I need to decide basically what I need to see on the open stuff. The point I'm going to pick with my eyes to drive the gun there. And this is all stuff. So you make the decisions. That's the point. You make the decisions for each target and the sequence of them together. And then instead of like, if you want to drive the time down, what you don't do is say, just go faster, because ultimately that's meaningless.
Yeah.
Because you're making
see less, right? Like, so you're going to be like, hey, it's okay to break the shot. As long as my eye's looking at the letter A on 5 yards, it's okay to break the shot. For instance, if I feel like my gun is in front of me, it's okay. So I'm going to see less, and that's my decision.
Right.
And then okay.
Yeah. So exactly, like instead of like taking the drill as a whole and saying, well, I just got to go faster. You're not making any decision at all. Like in essence, what I need to do is make a decision. Well, do I need to see equal height, equal light, like in the perforated A in clear relief on these close open targets? No, not at all. I can decide to take very little confirmation at all. Probably, if my index is refined, I really need to only see the outline of the gun, and I can rip too. And if your recoil control is refined enough, they're going to stack anyway. Now, This is scalable for skill level. That's me. If B-class Bobby does it, he probably needs to experiment with that level of confirmation on all the targets, but the open too. He may need to see just a little bit more. But the point is, it's not a faster, slower thing. We're making different decisions to achieve the good result.
So if I want to get more points, I don't just walk up to the drill and be like, all right, well, now I'm gonna get the points on the far target because I want them.
Yeah, that's it. It's like, because I think we're all riding this seesaw to a certain extent, the points versus time. We're all riding that seesaw all the time. But what I see too often is a guy will go up and he'll shoot, quote unquote, slow, and he'll get all the alphas. Well, I got his feet up. Well, what does he do? He just goes faster, bro, and, drops Charlie Delta on the first open. He slings one over the head, barely hangs one on the perf, and then, another Charlie Delta or whatever on the open target. Okay, what does he do? I got to get alphas this time. And so he just slows back down and gets all his alphas. It's just up and down, up. It's not productive. Whereas I think if you said instead, if you thought of it in terms of those micro decisions to make for each target and you're tweaking confirmation, like you can point to that You can say this consistently is this particular aspect of technique, this decision I'm making is leading to this result. And you can tweak and experiment with it from there. I think it's sort of freedom from the seesaw of points and speed, you know?
So you're going to make actionable decisions, and you're going to
actionable decisions
per shot, per movement, per whatever, per action. You make a decision. And this is for you, the root of discipline. Yeah.
And you're going to learn something instead of, you know, if I go out and I say, I turn on speed mode and I sling points everywhere, I don't know why that happened other than I was just going too fast. To me, that doesn't give me any data whatsoever. And, you know, on the flip side, if I turn on points mode or whatever, you know, bullseye mode, and I hit all my alphas, I really don't know why I'm doing all this, except, you know, it's just a linear spectrum of points or speed. I think it's a total false dichotomy. It's more about the decisions you're making, these micro decisions that lead to the result.
I got to hijack this for 1 second because I posted this in y'all's Discord just a couple of weeks ago on this exact drill, distance change-up. I was working out with a buddy of mine who I like to go to matches with, and we simplified it. So we started drawing to the 15-yard no-shoot. So we would only have one speed direction, right? So we just accelerate. And my goal was to go out, sort of shoot it in live fire, is I wanted to start at like my working weight. So like, you know, if you're lifting weights in the gym, instead of like laddering up, you know, you can start with an empty bar, you sort of throw a plate. All right, you know, now I'm going to put 2 plates on, right? Now I'm getting up to my working, you know, so now I'm going to put a couple of 25s on, right? Like, and you get into your working weight, it's like, I'm just going to start at my working speed, like at the speed where I will make a mistake. And then I will make this. So actually, I'm not disagreeing with you. Then I'll make a decision about that mistake, right? And so, like, you know, when I started drawing to the head box, the mistake I was making was not hitting it. But I was not hitting it in a really specific way. I was getting the gun to the target in time, but I wasn't seeing enough to hit it. So I made a decision to see more before I broke the first shot. But I held everything else constant because I liked what was happening on everything else. It was just a nice snappy transition and like an appropriate split on the open. So it's like, okay, I'm just going to see more. So I run it again. Didn't see quite enough, right? So it's like Alpha Mike, right? Run it again, 2 Charlies. All right, I'm going to see a little bit more. Okay, 2 Alpha. Right? So it's like, I know exactly, like I'm not just dialing up speed or dialing up accuracy. Like in like a drill context, I'm actually holding everything constant and I'm experimenting with like one decision at a time. Again, this is not like how to break down a stage, but like in a training context, it's like, okay, what if I just see more on this target or, you know, transition more aggressively on that target and hold everything else constant. And I was really proud of myself because I'm not a very fast guy. And I went out there and I like hit the working speed on the first string. And so the first one was fastest and they just got slower, not by going slower, but by seeing more until I got like the result I wanted. Anyway.
Yeah. No, that's perfect illustration. I mean, you can isolate the decisions. It's not a faucet, like it's either on or off. You know, you can isolate a specific element within the drill or the array or the stage or what have you, and focus on that. To me, I think it's liberating. It's kind of like freeing yourself from that. You know, it's either points or speed. I think, like I said, this
is a high hit factor stage, so I'm just gonna.
You just got to hang them all on brown. Hang them all on brown.
Put in those 2 targets. They put in that 18-yard mini popper for guys like me who just want to like go flat out. So I'll send 5 at it, right? Like I can make a decision. I can see something totally different on that than I'm seeing on these close opens.
Yeah, well, I think one way to another way to kind of put this, and I mean, I think I heard this from Ben a long time ago, but like it's either if you're going too fast and not hitting enough, you're going slower than you want to, but hitting everything. To go either direction, you have to sacrifice something. Like if you're going too slow, but you're hitting everything, then you have to sacrifice something. And this process gives you a way, okay, let's make a decision about what we're willing to sacrifice. Like where can I sacrifice something? I don't necessarily need to sacrifice on every aspect of it, right? I don't have to draw faster. I don't have to reload faster. I don't have to shoot faster splits. I don't have to run fast. Like I don't have to do all of that. Like let's first just make a decision. Okay, I'm just going to try to present the gun earlier in places and be ready to shoot sooner and see, okay, is that I can make that sacrifice and is that going to get me what I want? There's 4 really close open targets, so I'm just going to shoot those with really blurry sights, and I'm going to see what that sacrifice, if that gets me the speed I want without dropping too many points. So I think that, yeah, I think that's a really great way to systematize how do we sacrifice that. And the other thing, if you're going too fast and not getting points, where am I going to sacrifice time? Because obviously you're going to have to give up time some way, somehow to get better hits.
You are, but for me, man, I can't sacrifice time because like the time's non-negotiable, like in our game, right? Like the time will be sacrificed, but I'm going to sacrifice time in the form of attention. I'm going to pay more attention to something, and that will take time. But I'm not just going to, because I have learned I can make mistakes slowly.
Right.
Like I can aim, and I love iron sights for this because I can like aim, like really aim, like in the old classical sense, at a piece of steel, and then move the gun as I pull the trigger. Right. So it's like no amount of time prevents me from pulling the trigger with my whole hand if, I prevent me from doing that by just pulling the trigger.
Well, sorry, JB, go ahead.
Well, I think the time issue, sometimes you have to identify, okay, am I slow because I'm missing steel and I have a bunch of makeup shots? Or am I slow because I'm dropping mags? Or, is my shooting actually what's slow, or is that what's slow? But yeah, the getting better hits, sometimes it's allowing yourself to feel like you're you're slower mentally, when really it doesn't. We talked about this in the last podcast, that you're not actually slower. It's just you end up processing more info because you allow yourself to process more, but it feels like a sacrifice.
If I walk up a stage and I know exactly how long it took me, I'd shot it poorly.
Yeah.
I should be a couple seconds faster than I think I am, because I should be paying so much attention that like I have time distortion.
Yeah.
But if I walk off the stage and I'm like, that was an 11-second run, and it's 11 seconds, it's like, oh, that's not gonna be good.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't. Yeah.
And I think a big advantage of a system, and I'm not preaching the gospel of Tyler or anything, but the advantage
on
of
the shirt too.
Jeff wants the system. He wants to walk to his next match with the Tyler Turner system for guaranteed victory. So
yes,
but the advantage of a system like this, is it takes the mystery out of things. You meet a lot of guys who are very frustrated because they'll have a result and they can't understand it, or they can't interpret what happened or understand why. I think if you can understand why something's happening, it's because I made a specific decision. Good things and bad things are going to happen. You take that data and you add it to your library. We're all constantly building our library in training, theoretically in training, that we're going to take to the match with us. And I think the more fleshed out, the more data in my library, the more I know then what I can do at the match. And, I'm not left wondering, well, why did this happen? Why did I, back to the very first example, like, why did I go to the match with this goal of 95% of the points, and instead I shot 8 mics and 4 no shoots,
Yeah.
But if you do this intuitively, don't you? Because you've talked about, like, if you're rusty, you just get better sight pictures, right? Like, or if your grip's not great, you just pull the trigger slower. Versus like people like me, we're not that smart. We're like, if my grip's poor, I just keep pulling the trigger at the same speed and wonder why it's not working out. Jeremy feels me on this.
Yes. Yes, very much so.
Like, why can I not just replicate my best results all of the time?
That's a great question. I don't understand that either.
It's not fair.
Jeff, is this the answers you were looking for?
All the answers I needed. You're doomed, Jeremy. You're doomed.
But you two shoot kind of alike, Jeff and Tyler. honestly. Like Jeff's a really disciplined shooter.
Yeah, I will say, like, when I'm, like you said, when I'm out of practice and I'm not seeing everything as well, like, I don't go the same speed. Like, my hits will probably be very similar to what they always are. I'll just be much, much slower. And that's when I know I haven't been shooting or I'm out of practice.
So you gear down naturally.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have like this clock, right? Like I don't shoot according to a clock.
Mm-hmm.
I shoot more like visual. So if I'm not seeing it, I don't pull the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
If the sights aren't steady, I'm not going to shoot. Not all the time, obviously, because I still miss shit and shoot terrible sometimes. But for the most part, like as a general rule, I will slow down when I'm out of practice or not trained up.
Well, I also think you lie to yourself less.
Do I?
Right? Yeah, because there's like an element of like lying to yourself about what Tyler's decisions, what they'll produce. And I think that's to your benefit. I could learn to do a little bit less of that. Could
be.
I should have an inner.
Back me up.
There's like an inner goblin inside that says, "Just pull the trigger. Like it's fine. Just pull the trigger."
Fine, man.
Or it's been way too long.
Maybe it's a delta.
Exactly.
A delta. You called it bad. Maybe it's a delta. You don't need to shoot it again. It's fine, man. Like get on your bike and go.
Yeah.
Jeremy, has at some point in your shooting career, like, was that beneficial to think that way? To shoot that way?
To think, like, just feel like a sense of urgency?
Yeah. Just like
did the goblin ever help you?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
With a lot of training.
So like you're trained up to where like you and the goblin are neck and neck, and that's when it works.
Right. Like training the errors out by volume.
Interesting.
And so then at that point, then it's like, yeah, I can ignore the goblin simply because I can just go that fast because I'm trained up to shoot like that.
Okay.
Do you have an inner monologue, like an inner shooting monologue?
At matches, yes.
Yeah.
Like I
so
wish
the goblin, he's not just hanging around, like he's shouting at you.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm shouting back. It's not just him. Like it's a
conversation. It's a dialogue.
Yes. Yeah. Like I'm telling like no, I don't want to be shooting. I don't need to shoot that fast on a 20-yard no shoot target. Like I can, a 50 split's fine there. I don't need to try to shoot 25 splits. But a lot of times he wins, and that's a problem.
I had an amazing little conversation shooting a match this weekend in my head where there was a clover leaf on a head box on a standard stage, and I put a round through it, like right through it. And then I had this conscious interruption of like, I hope the RO saw that, right? 'Cause it's not even like a perfect double. It's like I have 3 holes and there's nothing. Like I just put a 4th round like right through the middle of it. It's like, man, I hope the RO saw that, right? And I'm moving out of position after I shoot this, and it's just a 2-step movement. And in the time of those 2 steps, I had that thought of, man, I hope the RO saw that. And then I had the thought of, oh wait, I'm not done. There's still 2 more rounds. Where do I have to go? Oh yeah, I'm going here. And by the time like I got back on process, like the next target was available. And so like from the outside, nobody was filming, but from the outside filming it, you would see none of that. Right. Yeah. Because like the programming was deep enough that like my legs carried me where they need to go. The gun showed up where it's supposed to go. But I had like this total like moment of sort of clarity of, wait, what am I doing here? Oh yeah, I'm shooting. It's like, good thing my legs didn't stop. Like, good thing I don't stop to think anymore.
Yeah, that's
you guys. You guys ever either train live fire or dry fire, listening to music or headphones in, listening to anything for that matter?
I can't. It just
So, I have been doing this lately, but I don't listen to music. I just listen to brown noise. And so
what
I
is
started
brown
actually.
Noise?
dry fire.
Is that racist?
No, it's louder white noise, man. It's more distracting white noise.
It's just like deeper. It's just like a deeper white noise. It's a different frequency. But yeah, like as soon as I go out to dry fire, put them in, crank it up. Because I don't know if this is, ADHD related or what, but like any sound distracts me from thought. So dropping a mag on the ground, like seating a mag, just any sort of sound will distract me. So I try to drown it all out. I do the same. I've been doing the same in live fire. I'll put them in, crank it up to where I can't hear anything other than the gun going off. Because it also drowns out your breathing. If you have earplugs in, you still get your breathing. If you run hard, you hear yourself breathing. If you have brown noise, you don't even hear that.
I don't think I've ever like recognized hearing myself breathing like during practice.
Really?
Oh, once I become aware of it, I can't do anything else until I stop being aware of it.
But that's where I was going with that. Like for you guys that have an inner monologue and are not sociopaths like me, white noise, brown noise, something like that, because it's almost a form of sensory deprivation, where like the sense that you want, the vision, like you're forcing yourself to put all like your energy into the visual sense.
I mean, in a match, when I walk to the line, I take off my electronic ears because I'm wearing foamies underneath, right? It's like there's nothing important that I'm going to get from my ears. I can hear a beep through foamies. Like, I don't want to be part of the world.
Yeah, I've said it a couple times in the Discord. Like it almost doesn't matter what it is. If I have like some sound deprivation, some way to drown out some excess noise, like I'm better at whatever I'm doing.
I should try music. It was just it would bug me in dry fire, but I should try it at matches.
Yeah, I couldn't do music. Couldn't do it.
It makes me want to get, because I've got like the Premier ears. Is it Premier or Sound Gear? Like the nice noise canceling earbuds, like custom molded and stuff. I want them. I want them at a price deal a long time ago, but I think they make those with Bluetooth now. So it kind of makes me want. They're really expensive, but it kind of makes me want to like get some with Bluetooth and then I don't know, run some music or something.
They also make a bone conduction canceller. So bone conduction earphones. They make a bone conduction like brown noise. So maybe we got to shoot with those, Jeff.
In the pursuit of getting better at shooting, I've never considered this avenue.
But you really never?
Man, I have friends who dry fire with music. Every video they send me, I can hear like music, and it's like they're vibing, and it's like if I could hear that, I'd like stop and listen to the song.
Like I have podcasts.
Oh yeah.
Like I have podcasts and stuff like that going all the time, like during dry fire, not during live fire, but during dry fire, I do.
Oh, I stop and listen to it, man. I can't listen to like people saying things with words. Like I'll forget what I'm doing and just listen.
So, Jeremy, your old World Shoot teammate Randy Arrowwood, you remember the chill fire stuff he used to do?
Yeah,
he's out like dancing with the gun.
I loved. I mean, and that's how he basically just got loose, like just chill out, and like he shot better when he was just loose, just having fun. And that was how he did it. I don't know if the dancing and stuff, I don't think that would work well for me.
No.
I got to look up some videos of him. That would work great for me. If I'm jumping around being a jackass, then I shoot my best.
Yeah,
Randy.
And if it drags down the rest of the squad a little bit, like that's to my benefit.
Even better.
I like that strategy. If I can dance and screw Jeff up, then I'll start dancing at matches.
I was doing jumping jacks and like jump squats. Like after make ready, I would tell the RO, like put it on your hand for a second. I can do some jump squats. Do a couple of jump squats. All right, blood's moving. All right, now I'm gonna load my gun.
Whatever works, man.
I guess.
Little sprints too between the bays. Get your heart rate back up. So these long layoffs with staff reset.
Yeah. Well, I really like that. I like that system because I somewhat feel the same way with the Lanny Bassam and the Steve Anderson and the positive, like thinking positive, and then that's just going to manifest into to being positive.
Jeremy, you don't somewhat think that way. You have like zero tolerance for heavy horse shit. The moment we even like suggest anything that might involve like positive self-talk, you like discard it as rapidly as possible and flee in the opposite direction.
I don't totally discard it.
You would start from the position that, hey, I'm competent at this and I'm going to do well, is utterly unacceptable to you, Jeremy.
Well, it's antithetical to who I am as a person. To be sure, like, and so like I struggle with, and so I probably shouldn't poo-poo that line
Happy horse shit.
Yeah, but at the same time, like there does need to be you need to be real with yourself of what is it that is required of a good performance.
Are you saying this isn't my year? I've been repeating this is my year every morning when I wake up 15 to 20 times.
It's the post-it.
Unofficially, I will have a very strong finish this year.
Oh, yeah.
You got the post-it with your affirmation on the bathroom mirror, everything? Yeah, I don't want to...
One step further. I stenciled it onto the wall.
Nice. No, I don't want to shit talk it either. I mean, look, everyone needs a system. If it works for somebody, by all means, like, carry on.
Yeah. But, Jeff, the title of this is Tyler Turner says Lanny Bassam's full of shit.
I like that.
That's
but
the
what
title
if you could
for this
have?
one.
What if you could have both, though, Jeremy? What if you were like really like confident, believed in yourself, and you had a really great system? Like, what could stop you? Nothing.
I think that would be good. Talent could still stop you. Your inner goblin could stop you. You don't understand how
your system defeats your goblin. Your goblin is no match for your system. The point of a system is it puts your goblin in a little box where your goblin no longer gets to influence your performance.
I don't think y'all understand how strong. Like, this is like the white orc in Lord of the Rings. Like this.
It's like he dies in the end, man.
Yeah, but it took a long time.
Jeremy, I think from your description, I think your system may be schizophrenia.
Yeah, no joke.
How to make the world shoot team through schizophrenia and repetition.
That was actually my next question. I was like, have you ever taken one of those autism tests?
There's a good chance there's some spectrum in there.
There's really high scores.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There's a chance there's some spectrum in there. That's okay, though.
Yeah. All right. Hey, before we do anything else or wrap this up here pretty quick, probably, let's do shout outs and Shooters Connection. So today's episode is brought to you by Shooters Connection. Thank you to them for sponsoring today's show. Shooters Connection sponsors a lot of matches. I believe it's over 100 a year throughout the country. They're run by competitive shooters. They're your one-stop shop for all your competitive shooting needs. And they are doing same-day shipping. So thank you, Shooters Connection. Please support them. Use the link below. That helps us out and keeps them going in the sport, keeps them supporting matches, which we do appreciate. Also, Patreon shout-out from Jay Headland Shooting. Jeremy, do you want to read it?
Yes. John Headland says, shout out to all the Discord members to support the Patreon and join the exclusive club. He's getting a little lonely.
Yeah. Also, he is listening to us record right now. New perk of the Patreon is you get to live listen to the recordings. So,
and we get to see like his gunsmithing, which honestly I've seen a lot more out of that than Reid custom.
He produces a lot quicker than I do. I won't deny that.
He doesn't have that special texture on the front strap though.
No.
It's you and one other guy, right?
Yeah. So the like Ned Christensen has what's kind of like he calls it his frag pattern, and then I call mine the Eggo. They're similar. You can look at. I think I can look at both of them and see very distinct differences. But yeah, there's kind of other people have done it. It's just a grid pattern is all it is. But yeah, I like it on my guns. But yeah, and John has access to chat while we are recording, so he can send out special questions if he wants while we're recording. So
Yeah. There you go. You get something for Patreon.
yeah, and there's
also,
special secret sauce that happens in the Patreon shout out too.
Yeah. So all that being said, Patreon link is in the description. Yeah. Okay. So Tyler, did you get your whole message out, or was there is there a next step to this, or?
No, well, the way I kind of framed it, like just for class purposes, just to put it in order, first is making good decisions. Second is applying all those decisions in the correct sequence. And then 3 is just putting everything in its proper priority. Or the other way to think about it is like wherever you are in the stage, like there's always many tasks we have to do. We're always doing several things at once, but there's only ever one priority. So for us guys in low cap, like that's, if you've got a long distance and you got to load, do you prioritize the movement or the load? That classic thing. Or, if the easy example would be, if you need to load, you have one step of movement in which to load, what should be your priority? That one's fairly obvious. But stuff like thinking about even when it's not obvious, like wherever you happen to be in the stage, what's the next step that must happen? Like what is the priority? What should I be prioritizing right this minute? And it changes wherever you are in the stage, wherever you are running that program. So, yeah.
Oh, that's good. I like that. That's a golden nugget right there.
Is that how you go about your visualization?
Yeah, this is actually my whole mental system. Like I kind of said, like, how do I, when I was prepping for the summit, it's like, it's kind of going back and forth on what I want to teach. It's like, well, I think this mental system works for me. Why not try to distill it down into like something I can teach or at least share with others? So that's what I came up with. That's really how I approach things. Is like, I want to split everything down about this stage to the most minute details I can. And then I want to do everything in the proper order, like a proper order of operations. And I want to give priority to the thing that's most vital at any given point. So it's really.
So those things that are most vital at any given point, how you said it changes like through different sections of the stage. Right?
Yeah.
So do you use like those specific things as like mile markers essentially?
Yeah, a lot of times I do. Like if you're entering like if you're entering an array that has very tricky, or you have to be very precise in your foot positioning, say into a lean, and you can only see the 3 targets you must take around this wall, it can only be done from one position. So my foot placement and my lean and the amount of crouch and my squat or whatever has to be very precise. So that's what I'm going to be prioritizing instead of like just raw foot speed entering that position. I'm probably going to break earlier. I'm probably going to take a little less momentum into that position. I'm probably in my walkthrough going to have picked very precise stage markers. My left big toe goes on this rock, or I should be, a couple inches off the stake in the fault line, whatever it may be. I want to drive that level of detail so that I don't have to take, a shuffle step and cost myself a half second in positioning, like for no reason whatsoever.
And then do you process that in real time, or is that looking back what happened because you had enough detail? Sorry, this is always an interesting question for me.
No, so these things are all going to be identified in walkthrough and then visualized to an appropriate degree, to where it's basically, I'm just getting a sneak peek. So when I'm running this live, it's almost like I just have a quick memo. Like this is next, and this is next, and this is next.
But it's the next thing. It's not the current thing. So like in your example, like you want to hit that lean just perfect. And so you're going to start braking at this rock that you had picked out when you walked through.
Yeah.
Like when that happened, would you have like the presence of mind to be like, there's my rock. Like I need to be like sinking down on my hips, or just looking back, if somebody took video, they'd be like, hey, you started braking right there. And you're like, yeah, that's what I planned.
Yeah. I think I'm going to cue myself, something, not everything needs a cue, like a conscious cue, but if it's something tricky like that, if the foot positioning is that vital, I'm probably going to cue myself, like as I'm leaving the last array. And it's not a verbal thing. It's not, I'm not saying, oh, remember that, like you got to start breaking this rock and put your big toe on this stake or whatever else. It's just almost an intuitive reminder from something I visualized. It's almost like a memory, even though it hasn't happened yet, or a little bit of deja vu or something like that. Because I've run it and I've memorized it, I've visualized it. So I trust that it's going to happen, but it's just something I'm going to cue myself for when I'm running the stage.
John, I'm going to keep asking you questions because I know Jeff needs this.
Yeah, hey, ask away.
Because this is really fascinating to me, like how much presence of mind in the moment, in the execution. Because like people with goblins, and I'm going to borrow Jeremy's goblins, then like deviation from that causes like an interruption to the next thing. So let's say I miss my foot marker, right? Now I'm not decelerating anymore. I'm thinking about missing the foot marker I missed, right? And so I'm like, at a higher level, shooters, if they have that interruption, it's almost seamless back onto plan. And like at a lower level, like me, that interruption, then I crash into that position. Like I fall out of the fault lines, I step back in, and then I fish around for the target. But where I made that mistake isn't that I didn't brake soon enough. Really, like I could have still recovered. It's I stopped doing what I was doing because I was thinking about the cue that I missed. Does that make sense? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I was talking to a guy locally at the last match, and the way he described it, it's very similar. He said, I'm running a plan. Everything's going according to plan. It's more or less subconscious. And then if an error occurs, it's like my conscious brain now says, well, you effed that up. I better take over. It's like subconscious can't handle it. Conscious mind has to come in and save the day, which is always a disaster. It's always then you're going to compound errors. So I think, if you can, it's always what's next. There's no opportunity like for retrospection
there's no reflection at all. It's just this immediate future orientation.
There's only the now and the very near future.
If that makes sense. Touching the now, right? Like
now. Like the next frame, if you want to think in terms like that.
24 frames per second. I'm in one frame, and here's the next one.
Yeah, that's all you can do.
Has any of y'all's conscious mind ever taken over after a mistake? Has it ever worked out?
Oh yeah, like for really complicated malfunctions, because I specialize in breaking basically reliable firearms. And it's like if you can get a good enough jam that like the mag's not that you have to manually strip the mag before you can rack the 2 rounds out of the feed ramp where they're jammed together. Like there's a certain point where it's like sticking my fingernail through the ejection port and like ripping that out like is the correct thing to do, and I don't train that.
Right. Okay.
But I don't know.
I mean, shooting low cap, there definitely, if you shoot enough stages, like there's, very specific stage plan that you have to do to be able to get the round counts correctly, right? You've already planned like 4 or 5 reloads, and then you have an array of steel and you go to war, and so you're a standing load, and so then you're thinking like, so then it's like actual like conscious thought. You have to like figure out, what do I do next?
Right, you're replanning. Do you not plan like 17 different contingency plans?
I try to avoid. I mean, there are sometimes, because sometimes the risk factor is so high that you do almost like, okay, this is a contingency plan. But for the most part, I try to avoid having contingency plans because invariably, anytime I have a contingency plan, I have to use that plan.
Yeah.
Really?
So you have, Jeff, you have contingencies, don't you? You're like, all right, well, if I run out of rounds here, then I'm having this other reload earlier, and then I'm back on plan A.
Yeah. And people will often say, "Oh, quick thinking, good job," and I'll be like, "No, I wasn't quick thinking. It was a plan.
That was plan B to get me back to plan A."
Yeah, that was if I fucked up, I'm gonna do this. Yeah, but yeah, I plan contingencies often. Yes.
And that's a low cap thing, especially.
I would just rather like if like you have to say if X happens, then Y. If everything goes according to plan, then I don't have to stick the reload. In one of those instances,
Right.
I would just always rather plan in the reload. Like even if it adds a reload, I would just always rather plan it in like content. Like
That's kind of how mine work, right? So it'll be like if I'm engaging a steal, it's not like I won't be able to finish this array or something, but it's like if I have one makeup, then I'm throwing in this reload kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
So our buddy Jay, who you all know one way or another, maybe Tyler less so, he taught me something the other week that's genius that's on that, which is if I'm walking the stage, right, and I have come up with the objectively best plan, which is, I enter on this target and I exit on that, and I'm walking it, and I keep entering on the wrong one, that's the new plan. Like, I should not spend 15 minutes training my brain to do the plan that I have identified as objectively correct. I should, all right, new plan is we're entering on the inside. Because every time I walk it, like, my eye goes there first. And so it's like, plan to do the thing that you want to do. And this is what Tyler's saying about the reload. It's like, hey, if it's a high-risk thing where it's like, I can shoot empty on here and then I'll be okay. Like, or I could just plan to reload.
I think that's smart too. Like that's like trusting your body. Like right or wrong, for whatever reason, your body or your mind or something, whatever is there. It just has a preference to do that thing. Why?
It wants to enter on that piece of steel, so
right.
Make that the plan. And
why
enter on the inside paper?
Yeah. Why swim upstream? Because you plan it, you're still going to do it. You're still going to run it that way, most likely. When you're live.
Well, yeah, exactly. And then you run it and you're like, hey, I still entered on that steal. I wanted to get to the paper first. And it's like, why did I do that? It's like, because I wanted to.
For me, that thing that my body keeps wanting to do that I keep trying to talk myself into not doing is usually a reload that's not needed.
Yeah.
So just do it anyway.
I have a solution for that. It comes with 23 rounds and a dot.
At this point, I don't know if I could not reload.
You could. And when you don't, you'll feel very frustrated and you'll feel great shame, and that will drive you to fix it.
Shame.
Watched a video to that effect today.
Well, Tyler, thank you for coming on. It's been
thanks for having me.
Really enjoyed that talk. I like the does the whisker movement count as brown noise?
Yeah, I'll chop it out and loop it for you, and you can listen to it. And
there we go. Now we got it.
I'm gonna dry fire to the beard.
Yes, yes.
I'm gonna get Bluetooth headsets. I'm gonna shoot to the beard.
Yeah, I it could be. There's so many T-shirts coming out of this. It's really a gold mine. Potato once again.
Overperform my skill. You guys know
is the beard.
It's a beard.
Not your beard. Tyler's beard.
Your beard.
Yep. From the Gospel of Tyler. Potato also, Mr. Saul. Thank you for coming on again. Always add a lot to the conversation. So,
man, my son was delighted. He's like, people call you Potato? Not usually. He's like Mr. Potato. I'm like, not usually. Anyway,
I really hope people start just mailing you potatoes. Just you get them in the mail, just a potato.
You said you were identified at a match as Potato, weren't you?
Yes,
right?
Alex Mansfield walked up to me and said, "Hey, Potato." And I was like, "Take one to know one, bud." I didn't say that. He's a nice guy. But I thought it.
I love it. I love it. If you guys have any questions or comments or want any special guest on, let us know. There are elections coming up, and we're trying to figure out. There's a lot. There's 3 different elections, and there are a lot of candidates. And I don't know that we can manage getting through interviewing all the candidates in the 8 weeks that we have before the elections are over. So if there's somebody specifically that you really want to hear from, like you think maybe they have good ideas and you want everybody to hear that, then let us know and we can try to maybe hit the ones that we think people really need to hear from.
Yeah, because in general, like,
well, who would the board like elected? And let's make sure we hear from them.
Or not. Yeah, there's certainly that. I'm very fascinated in how Area 6 is going to go between Matt and Ben Berry. And there's another guy that I don't know. Who was it? Kyle Stevens?
Kyle Stevens. Yeah, open
I don't know.
down in Florida.
I don't know anything about Kyle. I don't know. Is he a good dude?
He's a good dude. He's a business as usual dude, but he's a good dude.
Okay.
So parse that one for yourself.
Okay. So like I'm curious how that election will go. I don't know either the people in Area 8 and President. There's like 8 people, so we'll try to manage that. Again, if you guys have input on who you specifically want to hear from, we can try to bring them on. But otherwise, thank you guys for coming on, and thanks everybody for listening.
Stop recording, damn it.